Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, GOP candidates separate themselves from controversial statements made by Russell Pierce. And should high school students have to pass a citizenship test to graduate? One state lawmaker thinks so. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal, and Aaliyah Rao of the Arizona Republic. Well, Russell Pierce may not be running for office, but he's still making election year headlines. Let's get the background on this and where we stand.
Well, Russell Pierce has a microphone. He has a program on a local radio station, and in a recent broadcast, he talked about if he was in charge of Medicaid, that he would require women to basically be sterilized, get Norplant or have a tubal ligation or something to stop reproducing unless they're willing to go out and get a job. It took a while for that to catch up with him, but once it did, it set off another Russell Pierce chain reaction, as we've seen before.
And Mr. Pierce said that he was actually reading someone else's statement.
Yeah, we've kind of heard this before from him on some of his, I guess, Stormfront, some of the neo-Nazi stuff that he got in trouble for before when he was in the legislature, and he's used that same excuse before. A lot of pressure on Republicans to distance themselves from him on this.
And I was going to say, how long did it take for Republicans, especially those running for office, to back off from this?
Once the Democrats made an issue of it and kind of brought it to light, within 24 hours, everybody was jumping on board to kind of back away from it, from Doug Ducey all the way down. All the candidates, if I think, have said something at this point.
And again, it was the Democratic Party that came out with the information, correct?
I think it first came out in the Phoenix New Times, and then the Democratic Party's executive director sort of took it up as a challenge and said, hey, you know, where are you guys? This guy's in your party. Do you agree with him or do you repudiate him? And he sort of threw it out there as a challenge and got pretty quick responses, as Aaliyah said, from, you know, the statewide, most of the statewide GOP candidates. I don't think we've heard from Diane Douglas on that.
Okay, and the quote is, put me in charge of Medicaid. The first thing I do is get Norplant, birth control implants, or tubal ligations. Then we'll test recipients for drugs and alcohol, and if you want to reproduce or use drugs or alcohol, get a job. Now, question. There are some folks who are saying, what's wrong with what he said? I mean, there are folks who believe that this is, you know, the letter writer had a point.
Yeah, there are portions of that have more support than others. Probably the drug testing, you've seen that pushed here in other states for welfare Medicaid recipients. The sterilization, you start to probably lose people. But it kind of fits into a bigger narrative that Democrats are playing up, is that the Republicans are extreme. We keep having these embarrassing instances of legislatures and Republican leaders doing this. And here, vote for us because of that. So it is a kind of a bigger narrative in the campaign. But you're right, there's a lot of people, especially in the Republican side, that agree with some of these kind of tests for people receiving public benefits.
Yeah, but it only, if you agree with that, they're only going after the women. I mean, there's a whole other part of the population that, you know, would be responsible for producing children as well, and we're not talking about, you know, mandatory vasectomies for men on Medicaid.
And I think that's one of the big concerns out of the Republican Party. They're working really hard to draw and kind of keep those women, and this is not an issue that would help them.
I think when you talk about drug testing, people are like, you know, there's some people for that. When you start talking about sterilization, then I think you're starting to jump the shark a little bit.
Well, jumping the shark a little bit, but are we surprised? Were candidates surprised that Russell Pierce said this? I mean, people know who Russell Pierce is and what he believes in.
And he says stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a radio show for a reason. You know, he gets listeners, he gets attention. He's been out of, you know, public office for how many years now? But he's still back there behind the scenes, and he has been kind of running things for that certain part of the party. And, you know, I think the problem is we've now hit the general election. I think if this had happened in the primary, maybe it wouldn't have been as much of an issue, but this is a general. You need those independents, you need those moderates, and this is not the direction they want to go right now.
Republicans also need that certain part of the party as well, though, in the general. Is this another fracture point within the party?
Oh, perhaps. I don't know how many people are going to really openly. We haven't seen anybody openly siding with Mr. Pierce, that anyone that's running for office, that is. And you know, I think Aaliyah hit it. It just sort of alienates voters at a time when they're trying to be extra sensitive to them.
And real quickly, he is still employed by Maricopa County.
Yes, he's with the treasurer's office with Hoskins, and there's been protests down there. He's had to step down from his party post, but we'll see what happens with that. Again, it's a bigger story if it fits into this bigger narrative that Republicans are so far to the right that they're out of touch with kind of your mainstream voters.
Yeah, so how much of an impact does it have then?
I think that's a real potential in this race. For this whole issue about we're too extreme, we look bad, we're on the Daily Show all the time, we look kooky, and this fits into that. And I think you see a lot of individual moderates, women voters, business people that are concerned about that. They're tired of the brush that we get painted with by these types of things.
And I will point out that a lot of the Republican statewide candidates who repudiated his comments, they haven't been endorsed by him anyway. If you look on his website, these were not his picks. So it was sort of an easy call for them to make. But this will resonate. It sort of fits into that national narrative that there's something kooky going on in Arizona.
And he still has a microphone, correct? He still has his radio show, so
He does.
who knows? Stay tuned. Dark money impacting elections. I know, Mary Jo, you kind of worked on this and reported on this, and the paper's reporting on this as well. How much is being spent right now? Do we know how much is being spent, and what kind of impact is it having?
Well, we only know, we don't know how much is being spent, but I mean, there's been millions spent already. We saw a lot of spending throughout the primary. There's another set of reports that we should be able to see on Monday. But you don't have to report until you hit a certain threshold of spending. I think we're going to be hitting that really, really soon. And dark money, this is money that comes from independent expenditure committees who are not required under federal tax law to disclose their donors. Therefore, it's hard to know what's the source of the money.
I think it can be a big issue. I think the media and opponents that are being targeted need to call out the candidates that are being supported. You need to stand behind your message, stand behind your commercials, and not have some group called Americans for Economic Progress or whatever on both sides, run your campaign for you and throw dirt at somebody else. So I think that's kind of on the media a little bit to bring this out more.
As much as the media can bring it out. I mean, there's a limit to what, as Mary Jo says, is what you know and when you can know it.
There is, but we can at least bring out, who's gotten money spent on their behalf, who might be behind it, and kind of hold the candidates a little bit accountable. I mean, so far in the general, I think there's been one group that has given to Doug Ducey about $500,000, and he's the only one so far that's shown up in the reports. Like I said, there's more reports coming out next week. There's more groups that will be spending as we get closer to the election.
Oh, yes.
But, it's going to be big money again, and I think the candidates, need to kind of talk about it.
The problem is what happens after you govern. If you've gotten this secret money from either side, and then you get in office, and we don't know who's backing this, does this change how you approach issues? Do you push certain things? Do you oppose certain bills or legislations or proposals because of this secret money that came from some source that we don't know about? That's the thing about campaign finance rules and laws. When they have disclosure, you can follow the money and see how it impacts people's proposals and how they act once they win.
This is a big topic in the Secretary of State's race. I mean, it's the elections office. So, Terry Goddard, the Democratic candidate, is saying, look, he will push for legislation that would force disclosure of donors, and if he can't get that through the legislature, he'll lead a statewide referendum. Michelle Reagan, who ran a bill this year that would have required the top 3 donors to such groups to disclose their identities, that bill went nowhere. It got a unanimous vote and then disappeared. She says, it's not as easy as you might think. So they're going to go back and forth about that. Goddard points out that there are other states that have required heavier levels of disclosure. And now in the middle of it, we have Ken Bennett's Secretary of State office, which has sent out letters to a lot of independent expenditure committees that are 501c4s saying, show us, we think that you are you're actually a political committee and not a social welfare nonprofit.
Right.
Show us where you're spending your money.
How did they get away with saying we're here to inform and educate, we're socially conscious and not political?
Yes, obviously these groups are political action groups, and they're running ads and they're opposing certain candidates and pushing others, but they've used some Supreme Court rulings.
2 words, Citizens United.
Yeah, they've used that before. But this has gone on forever. They've always been kind of political money laundering going on and them shifting funds around to be able to support and oppose candidates. And the problem is once we pass one set of rules, the wise guys always find a new set of rules to get around this.
Well, and the educational components that are required are really vague. I mean, that's why we're seeing all of these polls, these unbiased polls that we're seeing. That's considered a public outreach. We're seeing, mailers to Are you an independent? Hey, vote. That's why we're seeing so many of those right now. They're spending money on that kind of a thing, and then they're throwing it at the candidate or towards the candidates.
Yeah, did you see the TV ad of the horses running free over the rugged terrain, promoting the Arizona Free Enterprise Club? That's part of their social welfare component. They are a dark money group.
So a dark money group is throwing dark money at itself.
Yeah,
They have
but
to.
you see some of these ads now, they've evolved into just straight campaign ads for candidates. It's gone beyond these attack ads. They're straight campaign ads promoting people, and it's not by Doug Ducey or Fred Duvall or anybody else's committee. It's by some outside group, which doesn't smell right.
How far do we go before the voter, and maybe not the average voter, but we'll stick with the average voter, looks at these ads and just I know negative ads work. I know every year we ask this question, every 2 years, every 4 years. But at some point, do people just say, that's malarkey, I know what you're trying to pull here?
I think they already are, but I think it's also the amount. I mean, people get tired of seeing 5 ads in a row at a time while they're trying to watch the news at night, because it's all these different groups. The candidates don't have that kind of money. So it's quadrupled the number of ads, and I think that's what's going to cause fatigue from the public.
That's an interesting point. I mean, people have their fill of commercials as it is, but when you see the same one and the same cutesy kind of thing going on, it's like, all right, I think I got the message.
Yeah, Terry Goddard had an interesting idea that if you can't get legislation to outlaw it, then make these groups state on their ads, we do not disclose our donors, and just state it. We keep our donors secret. He believes that would, turn, I mean, it's designed to turn public opinion against such groups.
Right, interesting idea. JLBC comes out with numbers regarding the budget, and what, 200-300 short, and we're not even talking education, are we?
Yeah, not good so far this year, and we have the education lawsuit to deal with, and the economy and the job market aren't improving very well. Unemployment ticked up, income's down post-recession in Phoenix, poverty's up. The jobs we are creating via these tax cuts aren't high-paying jobs. It's a lot of the call center jobs that we've historically gotten. So, Apple coming to Mesa is the big exception to that. So our job creation isn't there. Our revenues aren't there. We got more tax cuts coming, income tax cuts coming, and we have this education shortfall because of the lawsuit.
So what's going on here? I mean, again, regarding this education, regarding the lawsuit, we still got to figure it out here. But man, the next governor, the next legislative session, that's big stuff.
Oh, it'll be a very dramatic session. I think no matter who wins the governor's race, there's very, very tough choices, and there's not a lot of room to maneuver. We're almost on a year. It's what, Monday is the anniversary of when the state Supreme Court came out and said, yep, schools have been shorted money. You got to pay up, and this is now rattling through the lower courts in terms of figuring out how that payment comes out. But that's got to happen. That's a court mandate. You've got anemic economic recovery. Things just aren't moving along very quickly. We've just recommitted ourselves to child welfare, an increase there. Do you drop that ball after 6 months? You've got universities, you've got infrastructure needs in this state. It might be a very long session.
As far as the Arizona comeback, we keep hearing about the Arizona comeback. When's it going to come back?
That's the question everybody wants to know. I talked to a couple of the ASU economists today, and I think they're as confused as everybody else is. Everyone knew when we went down hard, it would take us and other states who also went down hard a little bit longer to come back. And that's happened, except now we're seeing Nevada come back, we're seeing California come back, we're seeing Utah come back, and we are not coming back, and they're not sure why.
Our business community, what's the business community saying?
Well,
about
you've
this?
seen a couple reports out there from Brookings and from the Census Bureau that young people, millennials, aren't moving here, aren't staying here, aren't moving here. They're going to the Northwest, they're going to San Francisco, they're going to the DC area where there are jobs, but also the politics there are more liberal than here, more progressive, and our politics, our image, the types of jobs that we're creating are not grabbing young professionals or millennials, and so that's an impact on us. Our population growth, which has been a big driver in the past, big driver of real estate, has not bounced back, and so that's been a slow thing. So we're kind of stuck with going back to our old set of jobs, call centers, services, tourism.
Can it be argued that the tax cuts, the incentive plans that were put in place take time to develop, and maybe it hasn't quite happened yet?
Oh, very much so. I mean, that's an argument from some of the loudest proponents of these tax cuts, that it does take a while. But up front, what those cuts mean is it's a reduction in state tax collections, and everybody recognizes that. And I think that's part of what we're seeing right now. Will they bear fruit with more time? well, we got to give it more time.
The problem is we're competing with states like Texas and Nevada and even Florida that don't have any income tax because their economies are based on gaming and tourism and oil and gas, and so they have that luxury. And so we might cut our taxes, but we're not the lowest out there. There's a lot of states without any income tax at all. So even though we cut these things, it's not helping. And there's a lot of reports that we overtax the poor because we're a big sales tax state. So not only are we not bringing any revenue, but we overtax folks at the bottom of the income ladder.
When you talk to the ASU economists, did they have, and we're going to talk to them as well here as the months go on, and we have talked to them too, and everyone's kind of waiting for this comeback. Yeah. But this latest round of numbers, what are they saying about that? I know they're confused, but are they saying just hold down and wait for this to happen, or are they saying we're kind of going off in the wrong direction?
They don't seem to know. I think these numbers particularly are causing some confusion. I think a year ago they would have said, hold on, let's keep going. We expected this, but it's going to go back up. And with these numbers, I think everybody's a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, they're saying, you've got Ducey talking about lowering income taxes. There are several comments I talked to that said ours are pretty low. I mean, yes, they're not zero with Texas, but cutting them down a little bit more, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. But then you've got Duval offering, suggesting doing more tax credits. And they say, well, we've got a lot of tax credits too. We've got a lot of tools in the toolbox. And I'm not sure that little tweak is going to make the difference either.
So is the legislature, I mean, obviously we talked about how big this is going to be next session, but how are they going to look at this? Are they going to say, let's cut taxes more because that's the only thing that'll get us out of it? Are you going to say, let's raise taxes when things aren't going very well?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, they'll probably listen to Senate President Andy Biggs, who, as I understand it, has tried to caution candidates that tax cuts are a bit unrealistic in this climate. So sort of steady as you go in terms of the tax front. Plus, we have, because of the big tax cut jobs package from a couple years ago, we still have tax cuts that are yet to phase in, and those are going to happen apparently. Right. So the legislature, I think their initial strategy is just to seek a delay on that school funding mandate, because that will put off the day of reckoning on at least $317 million if they can drag that out through the courts and then maybe work some kind of negotiated payout with the schools. So that's all I'm seeing from the legislature is my time.
The quandary is the types of tax policy that's going to attract the jobs, the venture capital. We're way behind in venture capital compared to places like California, Massachusetts, but also Utah and Colorado. To get high-tech jobs, they have to be specialized tax cuts, and the legislature is so adverse to those because you're picking winners and losers. They always prefer the kind of flat supply-side type answers, and that's just not the reality of what's going to attract jobs here. So it's a tough ideological pill for them to swallow.
Will this help? We talk about education, talk about graduates being ready for these high-tech and these big deal jobs. There's a move now, talk about a citizenship test requirement for high school graduates. What's going on here?
This is something that's getting pushed. I think it's coming out of an Arizona group, but it's actually a national push. Utah's looking at it. Missouri's talking about it now. Representative Montenegro in Arizona has suggested he'll probably introduce it this session. And it's an idea that as we focus so much on math and science and kind of social studies, some of those kinds of other things, we need to get back to understanding United States government and politics. And if we don't know our history, how can we kind of move forward? It's an interesting conversation. I'm not sure. They've tried similar things in the past and they haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, it's also a sense that a lot of this is drawn from the test that immigrants take, the citizenship test that they take to become a U.S. citizen. And so if we're graduating all these classes of immigrants into the ranks of U.S. citizenship based on this test, shouldn't the people who are born here, have that same basic level of knowledge? So let's incorporate that into the schools, but let's not give the schools any money to make that happen.
There was a poll that came out, national poll, that 2/3 of Americans can't name the 3 branches of government, and a number of them can't name any. And I took the test. The Republic was nice enough to post, and I actually passed all of them.
Did you?
But it was stuff like name give you a multiple choice and pick a branch, and the legislative's on there. Stuff about which ocean is on the East Coast. Stuff that most people should know. And there is a lack of civic engagement, I think, overall, especially in a state like Arizona, where you have a lot of transplants that don't have a lot of community ties here, didn't grow up here, and it's hard to get them engaged in politics. So you look at this as a way to at least have them somewhat knowledgeable of government, the country they live in, the history, basic stuff that if people take the test, most people should be able to pass it.
Shouldn't you be getting that anyway?
That's what my
In
question.
your
Don't they
curriculum?
use this test as kind of a launching point for education in classes anyway?
When I was in high school, we took it.
Yeah, I mean that was like one of the basic things of high school civics.
Yeah.
But I think
So-
civics education overall has been cut over the years. They've tried to focus on math and science. You don't see a lot of requirements in some districts like you used to, and so it has been cut a little bit, some of the history requirements. And you're doomed to repeat it, right, if you don't know it.
I think the argument against needing more money to teach this test would be it should be taught already. There should be no extra
Right.
funds needed.
Well, and that you can take the actual citizenship test. I mean, literally, you
Yes.
can just copy it, download it, and just use the test that the government's already created.
You can memorize who can make a treaty and who can't, right?
Right. I think we might see, people circulating with copies of this test maybe on the opening day of the legislative session and
Yes.
asking candidates,
Yes.
the new electeds, some of these questions.
Trent Franks is worried about ISIS or ISIL or whatever they're calling it these days at the Arizona border. Should we be worried about that?
Yeah, Trent Franks has talked about ISIS being in Juarez and other Mexican cities ready to come across and attack us. And they brought this up, conservatives, border hawks, right after 9/11. Al-Qaeda was going to come over. The reports of finding prayer mats and Korans littered on the border and come across. The thing is most of the terrorist attacks people come across are folks that are here already and been given visas or residency or even status by the U.S. government. We haven't had a case where someone came across the borders. The 9/11 guys were here on student visas. The Boston Marathon folks came via asylum and got residency. This guy up in Rochester was a naturalized citizen. So there hasn't been a case of that. But the conservatives have used this as part of their secure the border argument, is all these dangers are going to come across, and this is one of them.
His quote, I think, on this radio show, this weekend radio show, there's no question that they have designs on trying to come into Arizona. This kind of talk, just getting it out there in conversation, does it impact the election? Does it rally the base? Or does it make other folks saying, back to the extremism argument, that some parts of the Republican Party are just too far that way?
It probably does some of both. I mean, I think it does speak to the base, people who are very concerned about border security, and this is just more of an argument for securing that border because you just don't know who's coming across, and others will say, yeah, this just adds more to that reputation that keeps Arizona on the Daily Show.
Do Democrats use this as, look at that, they're a party of extremists, or they just let this move on to its natural course?
I don't know if they've touched this one very much. I think John McCain weighed in a little bit too, which gave it a little bit more weight, I think, with the general public, particularly on the immigration issue. He's considered a little bit more moderate, and he weighed in along with Franks on this. And the Democrats have sort of stayed away from it at this point.
Yeah, okay. Hey, we got about a minute and a half left here. A couple of referendums over in Glendale against the casino deal, nixed by the city because what, they were political, not administrative?
Yeah,
or
just a
something?
loophole type thing to keep them off. The Glendale has no say whether the casino comes in there. That's a federal issue. It's a federal land issue related to the tribe. This challenged a deal that the city finally cut with the tribe to get some money. I think $26 million over a number of years. So I think it's a way just to keep the opponents trying to derail this thing on the financing side, but it doesn't really impact whether the casino is going to come in there or not.
And I know you've been following the story a long time. You got the city council now basically working out this deal with the tribe, $20 million over a certain amount of time, and the mayor of Glendale's in Washington saying, take this away, stop us before we gamble again?
That's right. Yeah, Wires was there supporting this McCain-Flake bill to stop the casino, to undo the federal law that's enabled this thing all along.
Keep the Promise Act.
They keep
I
the
think,
Promise Act, which is, that's every act, isn't it, in Washington, is keep the Promise Act. But yeah, Glendale's divided on this. It's been a tough issue. There's a lot of opposition to it out there. But then there's a lot of realities that this thing's going to come in. We might as well get some money out of it.
All right, we'll stop it right there, and good to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. Monday on Arizona Horizon, a clean elections debate. We'll hear from the candidates running for Arizona Corporation Commission. Clean elections debate Monday right here on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, we'll learn what was discussed at this year's Arizona Leadership Forum. Wednesday, a debate. We hear from candidates running for Congressional District 1. Thursday, another debate, this time between candidates for the highest education position in the state. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. A reminder, for all of our debates and all of our political discussion, all of our political news, you can check us out on the web at azpbs.org/horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.